What if aging isn't a destiny, but a decision? What if fatigue, brain fog, wrinkles, and weakness aren't inevitable signs of growing old, but symptoms we can influence or even reverse? And what if science is already showing us the path forward? In this video, can we really reverse aging? What scientists are now discovering, we explore the groundbreaking research that's reshaping our understanding of aging. For decades, aging was viewed as a one-way decline, but new discoveries suggest we can influence the biological clock itself. From gene editing experiments that double the lifespan of mice, to senolytic drugs that eliminate aging cells and restore vitality, the question is no longer if we can change the course of aging, but how far we can take it. This topic is more urgent than ever. In the United States, many seniors are facing reduced lifespans not because of genetics but because of lifestyle. Inactivity, poor diets, chronic stress, and emotional disconnection are silently draining vitality. While medicine extends years, quality of life is often left behind, leading to frailty, inflammation, cognitive decline, and exhaustion. This episode brings together the latest scientific insights and practical tools to help you fight back. You'll discover how longevity genes and epigenetic reprogramming are extending life in the lab, the emerging promise of anti-aging drugs like metformin, rapamycin, and senolytics, why gut health and even your posture play a surprising role in aging, simple science-backed habits that send youth signals to your cells. You'll leave with a clear understanding of how everyday choices, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, can directly affect your biological age. If you're ready to rethink what's possible and take control of your health after 60, this video is your starting point. Like, subscribe, and share the Senior Health Source channel with someone you care about. Because aging well isn't about luck, it's about knowing what works and choosing it every day. Together, we're building a future where age doesn't define ability, and vitality never retires. That brings us to perhaps the most thrilling revelation of all. Aging isn't set in stone. For decades, we thought growing old was simply nature's timeline ticking forward, linear, irreversible, and inescapable. But science is now telling a different story, one that rewrites what it means to age and, more importantly, what we can do about it. Aging is malleable. It bends, it shifts, it responds. Researchers like Dr. Nir Barzilai, who has spent decades studying centenarians, people who live past 100, have discovered certain genes that seem to protect these individuals from the chronic diseases of aging. Imagine this, people living to 102, 105, even 110, not just surviving but thriving, walking independently, remembering clearly, laughing often. Their secret? Not magic, not luck, but biology, and a biology that can be mimicked or triggered in others. In animal studies, scientists have extended lifespan by over 30% through caloric restriction alone. In a groundbreaking 1930s experiment, rats on a calorie-restricted diet not only lived longer, but stayed healthier too. Their aging process slowed down. Later, in the 1990s, Dr. Cynthia Kenyon genetically modified a tiny worm, C. elegans, and doubled its lifespan by altering just one gene. That same aging pathway, known as DAF2, exists in humans. But it's not just about genes. The way we live, eat, and move directly communicates with our cells. Cellular health, particularly the aging of cells known as senescence, plays a huge role in the aging process. Senescent cells are like malfunctioning light bulbs, flickering, inflamed, and disruptive. They don't die, but they don't work either, and they spread inflammation like wildfire. New therapies called senolytics aim to eliminate these zombie cells, and early trials show they can dramatically improve mobility and reduce chronic inflammation in older adults. Even our epigenome, the layer of biological information that controls how our genes are read, can be reprogrammed. Scientists have reversed the biological age of cells in mice by reactivating youthful gene patterns using a group of factors known as Yamanaka factors. These results hint at a future where our cells can forget they're old and begin functioning like they did decades earlier. So the real question is no longer can we slow aging, but how far can we go? Stay with us as we explore these cutting-edge breakthroughs and discover how they might not only extend our years, but restore the vibrancy we thought was long gone. And if aging is malleable, then nature herself has already provided the blueprint. We just have to look closely at the people who've done it best. Meet Gertie. She's 98 years old, walks without a cane, cooks her own meals, and still remembers the name of every grandchild. No fancy supplements, no trendy diets, just a quiet life and a remarkable body that refuses to break down. Gertie is one of many centenarians being studied in groundbreaking projects like the Longevity Genes Project at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York. These people aren't just living longer, they're living better, well into their 90s, 100s. Dr. Nir Barzilai, one of the world's leading researchers on aging, has spent decades studying people like Gertie. What he discovered was astonishing. These individuals often carry rare genetic variants that make them more resilient, not just to one disease but to all the usual suspects of aging: heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, and more. For example, one particular gene variant called CETP, cholesterol ester transfer protein, was found in many centenarians. This gene is involved in managing cholesterol, and those with the mutation tend to have larger, fluffier HDL particles, the good cholesterol, which appears to protect them from cardiovascular disease far longer than average. Another gene, FOXO3, found in several long-lived populations, helps regulate the body's ability to deal with oxidative stress and inflammation, two major players in aging and chronic disease. Studies have shown that people with this variant are significantly more likely to live into their 90s and beyond, with less incidence of age-related decline. But here's the truly exciting part. Even if you weren't born with these longevity genes, scientists are now working to mimic their effects through targeted therapies. Imagine a future where a pill or injectable could switch on the protective powers of a gene like FOXO3 or CETP. That's not science fiction anymore. Pharmaceutical companies and longevity biotech startups are racing to develop gene-targeted drugs and protein mimetics, compounds that simulate the effects of these resilient genes in everyday people. One such drug class being explored is NAD+ boosters. NAD+ is a molecule linked to DNA repair and energy production, both of which decline with age. Centenarians often maintain higher levels of NAD+ naturally. Early trials with NAD+ precursors like nicotinamide riboside and nicotinamide mononucleotide show promise in restoring cellular function in older adults, essentially helping their cells act younger. Other research focuses on activating sirtuins, a group of proteins that influence aging, inflammation, and metabolism. Again, centenarians show higher activity in these areas, and scientists are working on therapies to replicate this youthful profile in the general population. So, what does this mean for the rest of us? It means longevity is no longer just for the genetically lucky. It's becoming something that science may soon democratize. We're standing on the threshold of an era where the secrets locked in Gertie's DNA could be made available to all of us, not just to extend years, but to protect the quality of those years. Because, as Gertie says with a laugh, it's not just about making it to 100, it's about dancing there. But what if you didn't need futuristic gene editing or a secret pill to live longer? What if one of the most powerful tools for extending life has been sitting right on your plate, or rather, just slightly less of it? Let's rewind to the 1930s. In a quiet lab at Cornell University, scientist Clive McKay made a discovery that would send ripples through the scientific world for decades to come. By feeding rats 30% fewer calories than their normal intake, without malnutrition, he saw something remarkable. The rats didn't just live longer, they lived better. Less disease, more energy, slower aging. This wasn't a one-off. Over the years, study after study confirmed the same pattern. From yeast to worms, from monkeys to dogs, caloric restriction (CR) consistently extended lifespan and improved health span. But here's where it gets fascinating. The benefits weren't just about eating less. They were about triggering a survival mode, a natural biological response that ramps up cellular repair, reduces inflammation, and increases resistance to stress. Think of it like this. When the body senses a shortfall in calories, it shifts gears. It doesn't waste energy on growing or reproducing. Instead, it focuses on staying alive longer. It cleans up damaged cells, a process called autophagy, sharpens the brain, and becomes metabolically more efficient. In essence, your body gets stronger when it thinks food is scarce. But let's be real, who wants to live hungry? Enter the next generation of longevity science, tricking the body into thinking it's fasting without actually starving. Researchers like Dr. Valter Longo at the University of Southern California have pioneered what's called the fasting mimicking diet, FMD, a short-term, low-calorie meal plan designed to simulate fasting while still providing nutrients. In studies, participants following FMD just 5 days a month saw improvements in blood sugar, blood pressure, inflammation, and fat loss without chronic hunger. And that's just the beginning. Compounds like metformin, originally used to treat diabetes, are now being studied for their ability to mimic the effects of caloric restriction at the cellular level. Metformin appears to activate the same metabolic pathways that get triggered during fasting, boosting longevity-related genes and dampening age-related inflammation. In fact, diabetic patients on metformin have been found to live longer than non-diabetics who weren't taking it, a discovery that's now fueling major clinical trials. Another rising star, rapamycin, a drug that affects nutrient-sensing pathways in cells. In animal studies, rapamycin extended lifespan by up to 30%, mimicking the cellular effects of caloric restriction without requiring major dietary changes. While it's still under investigation for safety in humans, it's already making waves in the anti-aging community. What does all this mean for you? It means you don't have to starve yourself to reap the benefits of caloric restriction. Small changes like intermittent fasting, FMD cycles, or even strategically reducing portions a few days a week may be enough to trigger your body's longevity switch. And as scientists continue to unravel the mystery, more accessible tools, both dietary and pharmaceutical, are on the horizon. So yes, less can be more. Not just fewer calories, but fewer chronic diseases, fewer aches, fewer limitations. Just a little hunger, used wisely, might feed you a much longer, healthier life. Now, if diet can nudge the body toward longevity, what if we could flip entire genetic switches to slow aging at its core? Let's dive into the realm where science starts to sound like science fiction: gene and epigenetic reprogramming. It all began with a worm. In the 1990s, molecular biologist Dr. Cynthia Kenyon made a groundbreaking discovery. By tweaking a single gene in roundworms known as DAF2, she didn't just improve their health, she doubled their lifespan. That's right, these genetically altered worms didn't just age more slowly, they stayed youthful for far longer. What did this gene do? It was part of a pathway that senses insulin and growth signals. When dialed down, the worm's cells stopped focusing on rapid growth and reproduction and switched to repair and protection. Basically, the worm's body went into maintenance mode, and the result was extraordinary longevity. That discovery kicked off a wave of excitement across the scientific world. Soon, similar longevity-linked genes were discovered in flies, mice, and even humans. In fact, some of the same cellular defense systems activated in those long-lived worms are present in you right now. The big question is, can we safely tap into them? That's where epigenetics enters the picture. While your DNA is fixed, the epigenome, a layer of chemical markers that tells your cells which genes to turn on or off, is malleable. Think of your DNA as the piano, and your epigenome as the pianist deciding which notes to play. Over time, with age, stress, poor diet, and toxins, the epigenome gets scrambled. It turns off important repair genes and flips on harmful ones. That's part of what drives aging. But what if you could reset it? That's exactly what researchers are now attempting through a method called epigenetic reprogramming. In 2006, Japanese scientist Shinya Yamanaka discovered that a cocktail of just 4 proteins, now called the Yamanaka factors, could rewind the biological clock of cells. By exposing adult cells to these factors, he turned them back into youthful, stem-like cells. This was a revolutionary moment, and today, scientists are experimenting with partial reprogramming, using those same factors in a more controlled way to rejuvenate aging cells without erasing their identity. In mouse studies, this approach has already shown promise. Older mice regained youthful features, including improved vision and organ function. It's still early days, but the results are exciting enough that companies in Silicon Valley and beyond are now pouring billions of dollars into gene and epigenetic therapies. The dream? A future where we don't just treat aging, we rewrite its script. Of course, this isn't ready for your local pharmacy. Reprogramming cells is a powerful tool, but also a delicate one. Overdoing it could lead to cancer. The safety protocols, delivery methods, and ethical questions are still being worked out. But here's what you need to know. Aging isn't set in stone. It's written in code. biological code, and for the first time, scientists are learning how to edit it. The implications are enormous. If we can safely reset cells even in part, we may be able to repair damaged tissues, restore lost function, and delay the diseases of aging, from Alzheimer's to cardiovascular decline. We're not there yet, but we're closer than ever. So while the fountain of youth may not come in a bottle, it might just come from your body, reprogrammed, revitalized, and reborn. If reprogramming our genes is the symphony of future medicine, then think of these next advances as the instruments already tuning behind the curtain, promising drugs that are showing real potential to slow down aging and extend healthy years. Let's start with a category of drugs that's getting a lot of attention in the longevity world: senolytics. Imagine your body as a city. Over time, some buildings fall into disrepair, but instead of being cleared, they just sit there, crumbling, leaking toxins, and dragging down the entire neighborhood. That's what senescent cells are. These are aging cells that have stopped dividing but refuse to die. They secrete inflammatory signals, sometimes called the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, that harm surrounding tissue, accelerate aging, and promote chronic disease. Senolytics are designed to seek and destroy those zombie cells. In mice, removing senescent cells with senolytic drugs led to improved physical function, longer lifespan, and reduced risk of age-related diseases like osteoporosis, diabetes, and even dementia. One well-known senolytic combo, dasatinib, a cancer drug, and quercetin, a plant compound, has already shown impressive results in early human studies, particularly for diseases like idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. We're still in the early stages. Clinical trials around the globe are investigating how senolytics might one day help humans stay vibrant longer by literally cleaning out the biological clutter. Now let's shift to a more familiar name, metformin. Originally developed as a treatment for type 2 diabetes, metformin has been prescribed for over 60 years. But recently, researchers have been buzzing with a bold hypothesis. Could this humble pill actually extend human lifespan? Metformin works by lowering blood sugar, improving insulin sensitivity, and reducing systemic inflammation. Some of the same pathways activated by calorie restriction, which is the most well-established anti-aging intervention in animal models. In a large observational study, diabetics taking metformin actually lived longer than healthy non-diabetics. That's a startling statistic, and one that inspired the TAME trial targeting aging with metformin. A large-scale study now underway to see if metformin can delay the onset of age-related diseases like cancer, cognitive decline, and heart disease in non-diabetics. If successful, metformin could become the first mainstream drug prescribed not for a disease, but for aging itself. Then there's a darker horse in the race, rapamycin. Originally discovered in soil bacteria from Easter Island, Rapa Nui, this compound was first used as an immunosuppressant for transplant patients. But in recent years, scientists noticed something strange. Animals treated with rapamycin didn't just have better immune responses, they lived longer. Rapamycin works by targeting a key cellular pathway called mTOR, which regulates how cells grow, divide, and process nutrients. When mTOR is overactive, as it often is in aging, it leads to cellular congestion, reduced repair, and metabolic dysfunction. Rapamycin gently dials back this overactivity, allowing cells to clean up damaged proteins and function more youthfully. In mouse studies, rapamycin extended lifespan by up to 60%, and even when given later in life, it improved heart health, cognition, and immune function. The big challenge: rapamycin at high doses can suppress the immune system. So researchers are now experimenting with intermittent dosing, like once a week, to harness the benefits without the risks. Across all three drugs, senolytics, metformin, and rapamycin, the trend is clear. We're entering a new era where medications won't just treat diseases of aging, but target aging itself as the root cause. It's not science fiction. It's science catching up to what aging really is, a biological process that can be measured, manipulated, and perhaps mastered. And just when you thought we'd reached the limits of what's possible in longevity science, things get even more fascinating and controversial. Because now, researchers are exploring one of the most mind-bending frontiers in anti-aging: parabiosis and the gut microbiome. Two seemingly unrelated systems, our blood and our gut, are turning out to be powerful levers in how we age. Let's start with parabiosis. a term that sounds like it belongs in science fiction but is very real. The concept: take the blood of a young animal and infuse it into an older one. What happens next is what truly captured scientists' attention. In early animal experiments, older mice that were connected circulatorily to younger ones showed remarkable rejuvenation, improved muscle strength, faster healing, better memory, even enhanced organ function. Now, before you picture a high-tech vampire movie, let's be clear, it's not just about sucking youth from the young. Researchers believe the key lies in the balance of signaling molecules. What's in the young blood that helps restore function in older tissues? Equally important, some scientists suggest it's not just what the young blood gives, but what it dilutes in the older body. Aging blood accumulates inflammatory compounds and cellular debris. Young plasma may simply help clear that clutter. The potential is enormous. Imagine future therapies that replicate the youthful signature of blood without ever needing a donor. In fact, clinical trials are already exploring plasma exchange as a way to reset the aging internal environment. But we're still in early stages. Human applications raise serious ethical and safety questions. What's the right dose? How often? And how do we make this scalable, not sci-fi fantasy? Now, let's turn to a completely different but equally fascinating rejuvenation source: the gut microbiome. This ecosystem of trillions of bacteria living in our intestines does far more than digest food. It produces vitamins, regulates immunity, influences mood, and, according to new research, may shape how quickly we age. As we grow older, the diversity and balance of gut bacteria typically decline. Bad microbes become more dominant, causing low-grade inflammation, impairing digestion, and weakening the immune system. But here's the kicker: when scientists transplanted gut microbiota from young mice into older ones, the results were astonishing. The older mice showed improvements in immune regulation, cognition, and metabolic health. One experiment from the University of East Anglia in the UK demonstrated that these microbiome swaps extended lifespan in older mice. In another, the memory and learning capacity of aged rodents improved dramatically. Just by reintroducing a younger microbial profile, researchers sparked rejuvenation. So where do we go from here? In the future, we may see personalized probiotic therapies where bacterial strains tailored to your body composition could help restore gut health, reduce inflammation, and promote longevity. Some researchers are even exploring fecal microbiota transplants, FMT, in clinical settings, although this too comes with questions about long-term safety, donor matching, and regulatory oversight. What's the takeaway from all of this? Your blood and your gut, two systems often ignored in everyday life, may hold some of the most powerful keys to slowing or even reversing aging. We're only beginning to understand how the biological signals carried in plasma or the microbial messages sent from our intestines affect every organ, every system, even our brain. And while we wait for the science to catch up with the promise, there's already plenty you can do. Nourish your gut with fiber-rich foods, fermented vegetables, and diverse plant sources. Stay active, manage stress, and avoid chronic inflammation, the enemy of longevity. These choices don't just affect how you feel now, they shape how your inner ecosystem supports you for decades to come. But the implications of age reversal and longevity science don't stop at the personal level. In fact, they ripple far beyond our individual health into something much larger: our entire society and economy. Think about it. As populations across the world age, healthcare systems are feeling the pressure like never before. In the US alone, nearly 2/3 of Medicare spending goes toward treating chronic diseases common in aging adults: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, cognitive decline. These are not just expensive, they're exhausting for families and health professionals alike. Now imagine if we could extend not just lifespan, but health span, those years we live free from disease and disability. What if people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s were still vibrant, mobile, mentally sharp, and socially active? The economic benefits would be enormous. Experts estimate that even a small delay in age-related disease, say by just 2 years, could save trillions of dollars in medical costs over the coming decades. It would mean fewer hospitalizations, fewer prescriptions, and fewer people needing full-time care. But more than that, it would mean more people staying productive, engaged, and contributing to their communities longer. Older adults could continue mentoring, volunteering, even working part-time, not because they have to, but because they want to. Their life experience, emotional intelligence, and resilience are unmatched. Extending their vitality helps bridge generational gaps, transfer knowledge, and strengthen family and social structures. And from a societal standpoint, a healthier aging population means less burden on caregivers, less emotional strain on children, managing aging parents, and more interdependence rather than dependency. This isn't science fiction. It's a future we're already starting to glimpse. And it's not just about helping people live longer. It's about enabling entire societies to function more efficiently, more compassionately, and more sustainably in the face of rapid demographic change.
So, where does all this leave us? Right at the edge of a scientific revolution. The idea that aging is a one-way street is starting to crack. From longevity genes in centenarians to senolytic drugs, epigenetic reprogramming, and gut microbiome breakthroughs, scientists are uncovering pieces of a puzzle once thought unsolvable. It's no longer a fantasy, it's a frontier. What's even more exciting, this isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. A future where you don't just add years to your life, but life to your years. Imagine waking up at 85 with the energy, clarity, and strength of someone decades younger, not because of luck, but because of science-backed strategies that began with curiosity and commitment. The truth is, aging may not be inevitable, and while we don't have all the answers yet, the direction is clear. A healthier, more vibrant future is possible, and closer than we think. If you found this video inspiring or eye-opening, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to Senior Health Source for more breakthroughs, insights, and empowering tools to help you thrive well into the years ahead. Because aging doesn't have to mean decline. It can mean evolution. Let's take that journey together.